I'm Lynn.
I'm Amanda.
And this is The Pursuit of Badassery, the podcast. We're cutting through the fluff and cracking open what it really takes to build a business and life that you actually want.
No gurus, no gatekeeping, just real talk, big action, and the badass energy you need to scale and slay.
Some episodes, it's just us.
And sometimes we bring on powerful guests with stories that'll hit home.
Either way, this is not about playing small.
It's about going all in.
Let's get after it. Hey there, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to The Pursuit of Badassery, the podcast. I know it's weird to see us on separate screens. We've been so lucky to be in the same room for so long, but today we're back to our old ways. And we are talking about the red flags you get in your business around when it's going to close.
Yeah. We talk about this a lot. And actually, I was having this conversation this last week with the COO side as well about most companies don't make a profit, like new companies don't make a profit till between the 5 to 7 year marker and even up to 10 years, depending on the type of company and stuff. But there are markers in that first few years, and a lot of businesses fail actually in the first year. And there's many reasons why, but there's so many different signs and markers, even outside of the startup phase, if you would, that honeymoon phase of it being new, but you just have more of a likelihood for it to survive after that kind of hump, if you would, unless there's transitions, like with a new person taking over, especially family-owned businesses. Usually it's like the third generation. They kind of like go sideways, if you would. But there are signs. Most of the time it's fixable. You're able to navigate it, to be able to sometimes cut your losses, but be able to kind of get over those humps, if you would. But sometimes you got to look yourself in the eye, your business eye, and be like, what are we doing here?
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking about starting this episode of podcast, and it really made me think about a couple of different people who reached out to me for consulting, and they do a free consultation with me. It becomes very apparent 15, 20 minutes in from my side of things. I'm like, oof, they really should have called me 2 years ago, because now they're past that point of no return. Absolutely. And trying to save a business that is already dead, and they just don't know it yet. I mean, it's like they've been doing CPR for the past 45 minutes and they won't let it die. And you're like, it's already flatlined. We don't want to get to that point. Hopefully you guys are hiring us before it gets to that point. But there are things you can really see. And this is the distinction I feel like it's really important to make. There are signs that the business truly is going to fail because all the things are going wrong. There's like operational red flags, financial red flags, and so forth. And then there's the other side where like you're just giving up because you're kind of done emotionally, but the business is actually not done. It's just you're done. So like those are two separate things. A lot of times so passionate about the business that you just won't see that it's dead already, or you've lost your passion for the business and you're saying that, the business is failing, but really it's you who's failing and you don't want to let go of the ego of it yet. So there are a lot of things that are involved in that, but we want to talk a little bit. Well, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but some of the things that we see that are most prevalent, and for me, the things I see right away, they're like the huge red flags are always the financial red flags. I don't know how people go as long as they do not seeing the financial red flags. But as Lynn said, a lot of times businesses aren't profitable in the first couple of years. So you start to think that that's the way it's always supposed to be. And so you don't notice when you've gone too far down that rabbit hole and that you're never going to recoup any of those, like all those cash flow issues, declining sales, debt going higher and higher and higher. They're basically, a nonprofit. You're breaking even if you're paying yourself at all, and you're kind of like sitting on that pedestal of like, oh, well, I'm the noble business owner and I'm not paying myself, but business is still good. It's not really a business at that point. Or you're like missing payments. There's a lot of things from a financial standpoint that kind of start that, but it's hard to see sometimes because so many small businesses don't make money for so long that you don't see them until it's too late.
Yeah, so many things are coming in my head. I'm envisioning that meme, where they're picking for gold or whatever, and that one person gives up right before they find the gold and the other person finds the gold. And listen, we're not saying to give up. You want to see these signs before, and financial is obvious. I would add the other side of that to couple the financial is that you're working super hard. You feel like you're doing all the things, and maybe you're working super, super hard, but no money's coming in, and you are feel like you're doing all of the right things. Maybe you're doing textbook, but it's just like there's a disconnect. So that definitely goes underneath that financial umbrella, because you're putting in the effort, because lots of people don't put in the effort too. That's one of the first things that we break down with potential clients or even clients is like, okay, what have you been doing? Like, where is all of this effort and time and resources actually going? And getting really down to the basics, minute by minute, if you would. And so if you're doing all of the right things and you're putting all of this effort and you're still not earning anything, there simply is a disconnect. The thing that would be coupled with that is like, you feel like you're just grasping at everything. There's no strategy in place. Like, you can't get a strategy around it. It's funny because I used to fight this, but business is definitely, or like, success is definitely hard work, the right work, and a little bit of luck with who you know and the right rooms and being in the right situations and taking the right leaps and stuff. But it's not about always grasping. You should have some strategy with that. You shouldn't just kind of like willy-nilly it and manifest it, right? And we've talked a lot about this on our podcast, but when you feel like you can't keep your head above water, and this is a common kind of analogy, especially more so post-COVID, that people are having a hard times like keeping their head above water. And there might be some shifts and some changes that need to be made versus ditching your business. As long as you're aware of the signs of that it might be failing, you have the ability to hopefully make some changes. So that whole grasping and keeping your head above water for a long term or constant kind of positioning that you're in, that's definitely a sign that your business is failing in some way or another.
Absolutely. And it's really, really hard because there are so many people that tell you to just push through it and that this is normal and that you don't really know who to believe. Like, is it normal that you're not making the money and that you're working all day long and that like this is just the price of being an entrepreneur? Or is it that you're too far gone and you need to actually get out of this and you need to pivot what you're doing or change what you're doing? Because sometimes best laid intentions, the best businesses just don't work out. There are plenty of businesses that you can look at historically that they just didn't work out. They might have started out as a good idea and they pivoted to something else. I mean, think about, this is a bit more of an obscure, but Amazon wasn't always Amazon. It was a bookstore. Like, it was this like online nothing, POS bookstore online. And now it is what it is. Like, it didn't start with the idea to literally sell everything. So there are lots of shifts and changes you have to make in your business. And there's a lot of times for some of these bigger corporations where they worked for years without showing a profit. For years. And then now they're multi-million and multi-billion-dollar industries. So there is something to be said about.
But those big companies probably weren't grasping. If we're talking about entrepreneurs, they're the ones who are barely keeping their head above water and grasping. So I definitely want to make that distinction.
True. It's just the idea that, can you really find the difference between this is just the entrepreneurial journey and like, no, your business is crap. Like, you got to scrap it.
Or it's in the wrong market. It's the wrong price point. You're making it to the wrong target audience. Like, there's so many different aspects of why your business is failing. It doesn't always mean that it's crap, but yeah.
Well, exactly. But I mean, it could square peg in a round hole. So like, there's all sorts of things that could be the reason why it's not. And like, have you actually looked at the reason why it's not? Because it could be a good idea. It's just not the right time, not the right market, not all the things. So, and also really looks at like, look at your operational inefficiencies. Like, are you having high employee turnover? Can you not keep anybody at your facility? Do you have terrible customer service? Is the quality of your product drastically going down? Do you have no processes and systems? Or do you have unclear ones? Like, all of those things, those inefficiencies can really add up. So we've got like the big financial red flags. You've got the operational red flags, and it could be a combination of those things. It could be all of those things. And no one likes to hear this, but it could be a leadership issue. It could be a team like misalignment. It could be that you are overwhelmed and checked out. You have decision fatigue. You can't make a decision for your team, that you refuse to actually be the leader. What I see a lot right now personally with some of the people that I've been talking to as prospects and just random Instagram conversations is that they want to be like your buddy. Like, oh, I'm a millennial boss, so I don't want to micromanage anybody and I want to be everybody's friend. And I'm like, that you can't. You can't be everybody's friend. It's like the whole like parent versus friend scenario. And combine that with poor communication and mismanagement or over managing and micromanaging. There's a lot that can go into the downfall of your business.
I'll say this till I'm buried. Oh, how far do you get buried? 10 feet in the ground? Actually, I
Six
won't be
feet.
buried. I will be cremated, but that's a whole other topic. But it starts with you first. Like you need to take a look at yourself first because the break from the top down where it's happening, no matter how many employees or contractors that you have, wherever the break is at from the top down is where it needs to start. And it typically is with the individual that is running the business. You said something about, I forget the word that you use, but like you're over it or you're disconnected. But I would even add that you're done. Like you are not just tapped out and burnt out, but you are emotionally disconnected. You don't give a anymore about your business. You might care about the people, but you just don't care anymore. That is a clear sign that your business will start to fail. Even if it's successful, you need to find somebody who can fill those shoes, that gap for you, because otherwise, we've recently been working with one in particular that I'm thinking of that their sales have declined so much. And the excuse that they use is COVID, but really they have been done with the business for years. We've only got our hands around them over the last, I don't know, year or so. So, and now they're selling. But yeah, when you are done, like there's kind of no coming back from it. It's kind of like getting the ick.
Yeah.
You can't come back from it. I mean, you can, but barely anybody does.
And it's really hard to come back from it. And when you're burnt out and you're done, you're done. It doesn't matter how much passion you used to have. It doesn't matter how much joy it used to bring you. When you're done, you're done. It is the ick. It is the business ick.
It is.
Absolutely. It is a thing and it is hard to recover from it. It
Oh,
just, then you're like that bitter owner who nobody wants to work with. And then that's your employee turnover and that's the quality of your product going down. And that's so again, it's
yeah.
spiraling down in that way that happens so lovely. We haven't mentioned it in this podcast, but we talked about it in probably like every third podcast. I swear we talk about it. And that's like the strategic decision making
Oof.
because so often we see businesses really start to fail when there is no strategy in place. They have no clear goals. They are avoiding and delaying every important decision. They have no KPIs. There's no innovation. They don't really think ahead. They're just kind of like, they're very reactive in their business, very reactive. And that's not a way to grow a business. And so it never shocks us when somebody lives in the reactive and then, 6 months later they say the business is closing. I'm like, well, no shit. Like you were doing so much work, hamster on a wheel, but you never fed yourself. You never got off the wheel enough to feed yourself and get some water and like figure out how to get out of the cage. Like
Yeah. You didn't
a
roll.
common one. And we talk about that strategic decision making all the time and it is real.
No more building businesses on a hope and hustle. Like it's only going to get you so far, hope and hustle. We're sitting here having this conversation about signs of a failing business. And all I can think about is a story. And I know I've said this before, and I think I wrote it in one of our books. I can't remember, but I had this car when right after I graduated. I know you've heard the story a million times, but I had this car and it was a hoopty. Like y'all, it was a hoopty. And if you don't know what a hoopty is, Google that shit. I was constantly putting money into it, constantly fixing things. And because I was scrappy and broke as shit, I would go to my girlfriend's house, my best friend from high school, and her dad would help me fix the car. And one day he sat me down, he's like, Lynn, you've been sinking a lot of money into this car. It's never going to get better. It's rusted out like floorboards. You could like Flintstone it. Like you just have to like sometimes take it out to the pasture and shoot the shit. Like, come on. And he was so right though. And that analogy lives in my brain when it comes to business as well and relationships. Sometimes you just got to know when to walk away. You've done all the things, you invested all, but you're investing more than what you ever could get in return. And so it's that like balance, and it's hard, babes. I've been there a cajillion times. I get myself into situations. Amanda knows what route I want to go down, but it's a bit sensitive. So where I will give and give and give and what I'm receiving isn't maybe what I should be receiving because I'm just like all in. This is a character flaw and I guess a trait at the same time. I don't know. But sometimes you got to learn to walk away. And if you can foresee it, then you know your business is like going sideways.
It's just a gut feeling. I mean, sometimes it can't be quantified in a way that makes sense. I think that is that ick too. And that is like knowing when to walk away, knowing when you've sunk enough money into it. And I'll say right now, if you dread your job, if you dread the business that you started, like you used to dread your 9 to 5,
You just said it,
you're done.
job.
A job. It's a job, not a thing. Yes. If you've made a job for yourself that you dread, just the way you dreaded that corporate job that you got out of, or whatever 9 to 5 you had beforehand, that's a big old fat sign. That's your body telling you, that's your intuition, that's your gut feeling, it's time to cut your losses and get out. I mean, and the only other one we really haven't mentioned is like in this day and age, it's something that didn't really happen, 20 years ago, but the cancel culture, the legal issues, like the online reviews, canceling your business, and like that stuff didn't used to happen the way it does now. It's amazing how quickly that can disrupt your business. So that's a totally different side of things. We're thinking more of like the things that aren't.
That's a good point.
I
mean, I think it's very valid to bring up. And you know what popped up when you were talking about that is actually, and I've done this before too, starting a business that's already gonna fail, like it's already behind the 8 ball, and because of different things. And you talk about legal things and like frameworks, and I'm thinking about like the franchise that I bought and really the structure that was given to us and like what we received. It was really kind of like we weren't winning to begin with. It took really crafty people to actually make money from it that were scrappy and that just kind of like did different things, but the majority of the people didn't. And so also kind of like looking at starting a business or purchasing a business, are you already behind the 8 ball? Like sometimes it's cool and you can salvage the business and there's a lot of potential, but sometimes there's not. And so you're really starting way back when you got to kind of be mindful of that. So I love that you brought that up because that reminded me of that too, because cancel culture's facts, like it's real.
It's real. And, there's a lot of things that I've noticed recently coming up where you don't know what you don't know. And there are a lot of legal things that come up in a business, employee disputes, missing your tax filings, not knowing that you have certain taxes to file and certain like regulations that you have to meet until you have this fat, huge, gigantic tax bill that comes in, this fine that comes in for it. So sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. You don't know you're supposed to have these certain checks and balances. And then until you have somebody knocking at your door, metaphorically speaking, because the government never comes to your actual door. They're too lazy. But they send you that letter and you're like, oh, crap. I didn't realize that they paid my taxes for the last 5 years and they're asking for back taxes plus interest and penalties. And it's one of the reasons why it's one of the first questions I ask people is like, okay, what legal structure do you have your business in? Are you paying your taxes properly? Do you know the tax benefits you have? It's different from country to country, from state to state. It varies, but you don't know what you don't know. And so that's one thing that I've seen that a couple people have gotten really hit on is not knowing like certain state ordinances, or they get stuck in some really, really tricky legal dispute over a rental agreement that they never really read through because they were quote unquote just a standard rental. And then they have all these extra fees they didn't know about. They never actually read the contract all the way through, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, those things can hit really hard just from, I hate to say trial and error, but kind of. And if you don't know the industry and you don't know what you're supposed to have, it doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean that you're dumb for missing that filing. You don't know what you don't know. And unfortunately, when it comes to legal issues, it just hits a bit harder. Just hits harder.
I agree. All right. I think we've spoke enough about signs of a failing business. We would say definitely one of the things that if you feel like some of these are hitting home to you, it does help to get an outsider's view. Like Amanda said earlier, like there are so many times where she's like, whew, you should have started working with me 2 years ago. Some of these people she spoke with 2 years ago and they are coming back now. And that's happened to me as well. But recently we've had a few discussions around different things that, listen, if it's not us, get somebody. Your CPA, your lawyer, financial advisor, a mentor to just really kind of like go through things with you and say, okay, like, is this salvageable? What can we do to really reinvigorate it, to resuscitate it, if you would, and then sticking to that plan. But I think, one of the hardest things to do is to really be honest with yourself, because there is a lot of money and heart and soul and time and resources and ego that goes into creating a business. And that can be hard to say, I failed, or I had to walk away, or I closed it. But you don't also want to be on the other side where you're constantly hemorrhaging from it and from all aspects. So yeah.
Yeah, if you are listening to this podcast and you're recognizing some of the signs that we're talking about, it doesn't mean you need to immediately shut down your business.
No.
But it does mean that you need to start taking action so that it doesn't escalate to that point. Because if you are like doing a checkbox, like, oh crap, I feel this, I have this, then that just means that you need to start taking those actions now rather than waiting for it to get better magically on its own, because it's never going to happen. And as Lynn said, it doesn't mean you have to call us up. We're not advocating we're the only solution, but you might need help diagnosing what's actually going on and where your biggest leaks are and what you need to fix first. And number one, you don't know what you don't know. And two, you have big old fat blinders on. It's really hard to see it when you're in it. It really is. I say this from my own personal experience of not seeing the forest for the trees. Like, you just don't see it while you're in it. And then now being a consultant, and I look at other people's businesses and you're like, why don't you see that? Like, that's so obvious. And it is, because we're outside. We're removed from the emotion. We're removed from all the like crazy day-to-day stuff that you do. So it's much easier to see it. That's just the way a lot of things work. You just don't see it when you're in it. And so, yeah, if you were listening to this podcast and like, oh, I feel that, it doesn't mean shut your doors. We're not advocating to like cut all ties and immediately shut your business down, but you do need to start taking action. Because if you want to see different results, you've got to make different choices and make different actions happen. We say it many times, what got you here isn't going to get you there. So what is that destination you're going for?
Yeah. When your business is on life support, stop hoping and hustling. Like, get some help, put in the right action, and know when to walk away. I think that's good for this podcast.
All right. If you know somebody who could use a little bit of help in this department, please send them our way. We are happy to talk to anybody about their hopefully not failing business. But if you have questions on it, please just ask away. We have plenty more to say on this subject, and we're ready to answer your questions.
Listen, and if you are not sure, we do a free initial consultation, both of us. So it's like nothing lost for you. Just give us a ring, DM us, let us know. We'll send you a link to book. We'll have a short conversation and we'll give you our opinion on it. We're not going to do the work for you unless you pay us. But with that being said, we can definitely give you an outsider's view. Share this with the people in your network. Make sure you're hitting subscribe so that way you can stay up on all of the Pursuit of Badassery podcasts. And if there's a topic that you're wanting to hear about, listen to us preach about, go ahead and put it down in the comments or DM us as well.
All right. Until next time,
get after it. Thanks for tuning in. But remember, listening is not doing.
Take what you heard today and move.
Share the episode, leave us a review, and tag us when you take action.
Head over to thepursuitofbadassery.com and see how we're helping entrepreneurs get results without the fluff.
Until next time,
let's get after it.